What is up, guys? I am in my car again. Sorry if this is a weird angle. It's really freaking sunny out here, so I'm gonna do my best, but it doesn't matter. You don't need to see my face to watch these videos. You can just kind of listen if that's what you like. But recently I got asked, what do I think separates people who win consistently in BJJ or wrestling and the people who don't win as much or win as consistently? And of course, as always, you know, I have my notes here, and I'll do my best to kind of give you as objective an answer as possible, but clearly it's subjective. I don't have the stats, and I've never won ADCC, I've never won CJI, I've never won Nogi Worlds, a black belt. I've only won an NAI national title in wrestling, so of course I never wrestled or did jiu-jitsu at the highest levels yet. So I'm just answering the question the best I can, as the question was asked to me. So I'll do my best to give, you know, 4 things in my opinion that separate people who do win and people who don't, and this is all just my experience. Sorry if there's a little bit of background noise with the AC. It's hot as hell here in Florida, and can't really sit and film without some AC on, but doing my best. The number one thing is you're not competing enough. You compete 1 to 2 times a year at the big events, but you're never getting reps in. Otherwise, you're just taking all your lessons where you should be taking gold medals. You should compete more, learn how to win, and learn how to lose. Now, this is a really big one. Because everyone thinks, okay, you should only go like at a certain point, at a certain level, you should only compete at a certain level. Josh Saunders had like a video where he went kind of viral and people were kind of pooping on him because he competed at Grappling Industries. I recently competed at Grappling Industries, and he won all his matches via submission, I think, maybe except for one, I don't know, but I think all via submission. And people were like, oh, you're a sandbagger, you're competing at the brown and black belt division at this local competition, why would you do that? You should be competing against the best guys in the world. And you're like, well, that's so stupid. The thing is like, in wrestling, you don't just compete at the national tournament, right? Even at the highest level of wrestling, Division I wrestling, you compete at a ton of tournaments, you do a ton of duels, and a lot of the time, you outmatch your opponents, especially when you're one of the better guys in the country. You outmatch your opponents, but do you just not compete with those guys because you're so much better than them? No, it's stupid. Guys like Carter Soraki would only be like 5-0 instead of like 17-0 going into the national tournament if he only competed against guys who could actually have a good match with him. That's incredibly ridiculous. It's so important to go out there and just get reps, work on your techniques, work on your mindset, work on, you know, warming up, filling it out, seeing, you know, what your habits are, your routine is going into a competition. To say that guys should not go compete because they're better than someone is absolutely stupid, and it's something that hobbyists often like to say because it's kind of a coping mechanism. No, I disagree with this. You need to compete as much as possible so that when it comes time to get on the big stage, you've worked out your reps, you've practiced your nerve, you've practiced your routine. It's all about routine. Champions win because of routine. If they only compete at ADCC trials or ADCC Worlds or at CJI, and that's the only thing they ever do, they're probably never going to win. You have to do other things, right? At some point, obviously, maybe if you're Gordon Ryan, yeah, you're not going to show up to a Grappling Industries. But even him, before last ADCC, he was like, all right, I'm going to get these super fights with people who, honestly, he's just going to smash, just so he can warm up for ADCC. Don't take your lessons at the big tournaments, or, you know, your objective should be not to take your lessons. We don't have any control, surrender the outcome, whatnot, but your lesson should be at these smaller tournaments where you're practicing your routine. Maybe you'll win, maybe you'll lose. It doesn't really matter. It's all just reps. Next is you're avoiding competition in the training room. Lots of people have a really big problem with this. I'm out here in Florida training at Wagner's while I'm out here on vacation. I got to train with Bushesha. I'll put a picture up here or whatever, and it's really cool. Bushesha just kicking my butt. He's just smashing me, to be honest. It's not close at all, but I'm having a lot of fun. You know, I tell all my friends about it. They're always asking, how's it going, blah 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 blah. But dude, if you're going to train somewhere, you should be trying to train with the best guys you can. Obviously, like I said, it's really important to train with like lower level guys when you're kind of in skill development, but there's a difference between skill development and sharpening yourself up for competition. When I'm trying to sharpen myself up for competition, I really want to train with the best guys I can as possible. I want to test myself against people that can beat me or at least give me a good match, and I'm not scared because who cares about the results of practice? I get absolutely sniped by tons of people. I'm not going to name names when I'm training at places like PSF or Essential or even here at Wagner's. Like, it doesn't matter because none of those guys are going and posting about it on social media. They don't care. No one cares. The big thing is is that we're making each other better, we're pushing each other, and we're making sure we get honest looks so that when we go to competition, we're not afraid when we're going against these other better guys. Lots of people avoid competition in the training room, and that absolutely kills them, and they'll have no confidence when they go to competition because they never face adversity. Next, and this one's very controversial, especially in the jiu-jitsu world, which is hilarious. In the wrestling world, this is not controversial at all. You're not dieting or taking strength and conditioning serious. Of course, there are top-level athletes who say diet and S&C aren't important, but those guys all have one thing in common. Of course, there might be exceptions, but the one big thing that lots of these guys have in common, and they admit it, especially in jiu-jitsu, steroids, right? Of course, you could maybe lift once a week if you're on a bunch of juice. Of course, technique is the most important thing in jiu-jitsu. Of course, those things are true, right? But your technique means nothing if you're out-strength, out-positioned, and out-stalled by someone just because they're a lot stronger than you, right? Lots of guys are really good at stalling in jiu-jitsu. If guys are a lot stronger than you and they're good enough technically, they are going to stop you. Doing strength and conditioning is going to help you break through some of those walls. Doing strength and conditioning is going to help you prevent a lot of injuries. Doing strength and conditioning is going to help you rehabilitate a lot of nagging injuries. You do not need to be the world's strongest man or be a bodybuilder. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm advocating for. Doing strength and conditioning will help put you on as close of a level playing field as you can while providing your body the much needed armor it needs. Diet does a really good job of helping with inflammation. Inflammation leads to injuries. Inflammation can make you a worse athlete. Having a good diet is extremely important. Sleep, extremely important. Strength conditioning, diet, sleep. These are things that are the missing pieces that lots of winners really focus on. Of course, again, there's always exceptions, but you have to ask yourself, are you the exception to the rule, or are you the other 99%? Most of us, including myself, are part of the other 99%. We cannot break these rules. We cannot cut corners. Everyone thinks, oh, you can cut corners because Gordon Ryan cuts corners. I don't know if he does, but that's what people say, right? Which is absolutely ridiculous. You are not the 1%. You are part of the 99%. I, including myself, am a part of the 99%. We cannot skip strength conditioning, diet, and nutrition when it comes to competition. If we want to win more, we have to do the things that real athletes in all other sports do: basketball, football, soccer, wrestling, etc., etc. All these guys advocate for strength conditioning, sleep, and diet. Why should you not do those things? Because you do jiu-jitsu. And the last thing, again, kind of controversial in the jiu-jitsu world. I wouldn't say controversial, it's just some coaches will say it's BS. You are not working on the mental side of things. Who do you identify yourself as a champion, as a hobbyist? Are you scared of expectations, etc., etc.? Mindset is extremely important. Again, Kobe, Jordan Burroughs, name the dude in football. You know, it doesn't matter. All the best guys talk about how important it is. Mindset is doing mindset training, working on mindset training, building you obviously build confidence through skills. Again, someone's gonna say, well, if you're just good enough, you're gonna be good. That's not absolutely true. Nicky Rod made it to the ADCC finals, beating the guy who had just won the absolutes, Cyborg. Cyborg was much better than Nicky Rod technically, but Nicky Rod had this crazy belief in himself. He was a crazy athlete. He was a freak of nature. But the one big thing was like, oh, he had this crazy good mindset. And it's not just him, it's just an example. Mindset is important. Working on competition, mindset, and nerves is important. Everyone, especially in jiu-jitsu, it's so weird coming to jiu-jitsu where it's so different in the way that people approach it. Real athletes work on their mindset just as hard as they work on their physical. They're taking notes, they're reflecting, they're thinking about these things. It's extremely, extremely important. So if you want to be someone who competes more, who wins more, work on your mindset. Get some books, talk to a coach, do whatever you can. Try to get a solid mindset because it makes it a lot easier to perform the physical stuff once you got that down. So just to kind of recap, guys, you're not competing enough. That's number one thing. You're learning your lessons where you shouldn't, you know. You're avoiding competition in the training room. Your strength conditioning, diet, and sleep are just not on point, and you're not working on, you know, your mindset, your mental conditioning, etc., etc. These are things that I would do if I'm struggling to have good results in competition or even in training if you don't compete. Clearly, again, this is just my opinion. I'm not a super high level athlete. I never won anything crazy in wrestling. I never won anything crazy in jiu-jitsu, not yet. But being around really experienced high level guys, these are the things that I would say helped. And then even just the stuff that I've won, NAIs, placing at trials, winning Nogi Worlds, all these things helped me do those, right? If you guys have any questions, please leave them down in the comments below. Be as specific as possible. The more questions I get, the better. Also, if you guys want to improve your wrestling, Go to brandonreed3x.com/store and learn more. I'll talk to you guys next time.